Oh man, who's ready for week 2 of Double Dog Dare? Now, I asked you last week a question. Who likes to be dared, or who would rather be the darer? And I confess to you some of the stupid dares I accepted as a young whippersnapper. And one of them was mocked and made fun of as I shot paintballs. It wasn't me, it was my friend outside the car, and I hit a cop car. Bad. It wasn't a good choice, I'll admit it. So today, I'm not going to accept any dares. Today, I'm going to give the dare. Now, I want an extended dare in this room, in this moment, with a caveat. That you do not consent to sue me after you accept the dare. You may not leave the room after you accomplish said dare. You may not get milk. You may not get bread. You may not get toothpaste. But the dare is to eat one of the world's hottest chips, 1 million Scoville, and it says this, made from the hottest peppers in the world, Carolina Reaper and the Trinidad Scorpion. That's a deadly animal. And then it says this, try if you dare. Would anybody like, they even give you a glove, because you're not allowed to touch the chip with your hand. Would anybody like to try this? Tristan, you want to try it? Come on up, Tristan. Give Tristan a round of applause. All right, Tristan is going to die. And, all right, here's your glove. Now, because I'm not a complete animal, I do have bread in case bad things happen. So this is made from the world's hottest pepper. You can hold that. Just get a whiff. I'm not even going to get this near me. Just wait 1 second, Tristan. Eat at your own risk. Not everyone will enjoy this extreme heat. Do not eat it if you're sensitive to spicy food or allergic to peppers. If you are pregnant or have a medical condition, don't eat this chip. Keep out of reach of children. What to expect. This chip has been purely created for the sheer pleasure of intense heat and pain. After you, sir. You're brave. My daughter said, are you going to do this? I'm like, no, not a chance. I do have an extra chip, though, if somebody wants to do this after. Is it hot? Yeah. Do you need bread? Oh, man, look at this guy. Give it up for Tristan, just in case you need it. All right, he is going to be sweating a lot later. You're good. Keep that away from me. You take that glove. I don't care where you put the glove. Give Tristan one more round of applause. And then somebody can do this after at the church picnic, church lunch together. It's going to be great. When we see Tristan leave in a few minutes, sweat dripping down his face, just give him a high five and encourage him. The purpose of a dare is to see one's worth. And Tristan rose to the challenge. He rose to the occasion, and nobody else did. But the purpose of a dare is also to show what you have. You have something. You have the ability. And last week what I did was I dared you to get better or be better in a specific area of your life. That every single one of us has an area we can grow in. Whether it's spiritually, you just want a closer relationship with God. You're not where you want to be, but at least you're not where you once were. You're going to keep going. You're going to strive for it. Maybe it was relationally. There's a fracture in a relationship and it was your fault. Maybe it wasn't your fault, but you want to mend it. You can get better and be better. Maybe it's physically. Maybe for you it's financially. This one was an interesting one because the verbally and emotionally one, sometimes there's some people that are just really good at beating themselves up. And they replay their mistakes over and over and over. And I'm not just talking from yesterday, I'm talking from 30 years ago. And there goes Tristan. Give it up for Tristan one more time. So we talked about we have to get better and be better. And the whole purpose was to pick one of these things. Claim what you're going to go after. Now, if you're sitting here, you're like, I don't need to get better at anything. All right, Jesus, I'm glad you're here. Because we all have something we can do better in and be better in. Every single one of us. I picked mine. Talked to my best friend, and we're going to go after it together. So you declare what you're going after, why you're going after it, and then you set the when. What's your goal? You invite somebody in to help you. And one of the biggest things that we talked about last week was this. You can't have a better life built on broken character. You have to continue to strive to get better and be better. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to drill down a little deeper. We're going to go another couple layers lower, and we're going to talk about this. And in order to win that, whatever you pick, financially, relationally, spiritually, emotionally, verbally, financially, whatever it is, you're going to have to be consistent. You have to be consistent in that area. Think about your academics. Today is senior high recognition and college recognition. If you went to class every day and left your notebook in your backpack and your computer in your backpack and your pen in your backpack and you fell asleep at your desk every day, you wouldn't have gotten the grades to pass. You have to be consistent. Learning, studying, growing. Think about your finances. If that was your goal, and I gave this example last week, maybe by the end of the summer or the end of the year, you want to have $1,000 put aside. It doesn't happen December 31st when you're like, oh, I got an extra $1,000. Let me put that aside. No, it's consistently $50 a week, $100 a month, putting it aside, being consistent. And what I want to do this morning is I want you to understand something. Here's what all of us are good at. Claiming what and quitting what. Because it's hard. Maybe last week you said, I'm going after this. And then by Tuesday you're like, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. And you quit. And I confess this to you, that I'm really good at that. When I see the chicken Sammy from Chick-fil-A, I'm like, ooh, that's good. Can I have a supersized large fries, please? And a peach milkshake. They're divine. And in the wintertime, peppermint. I'm not going to lie. I can pound the food. So I can claim the what? Health. And I can quit the what? Burgers. Because I'm good at it. But you know what else I'm good at? And maybe it's just me. Nobody else is probably going to be good at this. But you know what I'm good at? I'm good at looking what they have and where they go and what they wear and what they look like and going, oh, I wish I had that. Like when I go to the beach and I see a guy with a 10-pack, just shredded. I'm like, what do you need 10 for? Can you just give me a couple of those? Like, can I just have... I don't even need 4. Just give me 2. You can have the 8. I'll take the 2. I'm really good at comparing, but sometimes you know what I'm not good at? Being consistent. And if you want to win, you don't win and get results by comparing what they have. You win and get the results in your life by being consistent. So whatever area you picked, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, physically, financially, verbally, what area it is, you don't win by comparing to other people. You win by being consistent. And there's a text in the Old Testament that to me just highlights this. It's found in Joshua chapter 6. Joshua has been leading the Israelite army after Moses. They're headed towards the promised land. Jericho stands in the way. They have to get through there. And it says the gates of Jericho were securely barred because of the Israelites. No one went out. No one came in. Then the Lord said to Joshua, see, I have delivered Jericho into your hands along with its kings and its fighting men. March around the city once with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days and have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram's horns in front of the ark. And on the 7th day, march around the city 7 times and have the priests blow their trumpets. And when you hear the trumpets sound, this long blast of the trumpets, have the whole army give a loud shout. And then the wall of the city will collapse and the army will go up and straight in. This is an interesting text. Very first verse, God told them, I've delivered them into your hands. See, what they thought they were doing for good by barricading and boundaries, God was like, I'm going to use that. They are ducks in a pond in there for you. It's interesting how God works versus how we think it should work. Now, Jericho was the gateway to the promised land. Jericho was built, very interestingly, Jericho was built on the front side, which is the south side of the city. It was built on plains and rocky, rough terrain. On the back side of the city, the north side of the city, it was actually built into a mountain, a rocky cliff. And so God's promised the Israelites, I'm going to give you a promised land. It's in Canaan, and it's flowing with milk and honey. One of the things about Jericho that we need to understand is that it had a major water source. It was vibrant. It was flowing with beauty and bounty. And so God says to Moses, there's where you're going. Moses, interestingly enough, allows a lot of complainers in the camp, and they say, well, can we just go back to Egypt? Can we just go back to where you just took us from? And I just want to tell you, nothing will destroy the work of God quicker than longing for the past instead of embracing God's preferred future. And I want to say that with love. Nothing will hinder God's work quicker than going, man, I know you got something good, but I'd rather have that, God. I'd rather have the past. And so Moses doesn't get to see it. Passes the baton to Joshua. Joshua's like, man, that city looks fortified. How are we going to get through that? So he sends some spies out. 10 come back and they're like, we ain't getting in there. 2 come back and like, ain't no thing. We can do this. And what's interesting was when they went and spied it out, they were on the north side of the city. The king of Jericho kind of gets word that there's some spies there. And he sends some armed soldiers to arrest them. And they get help from somebody in the city of Jericho, a prostitute named Rahab, who lived on the north side of the city. And Rahab says this, we've heard about God. We've heard how he's delivered the Israelites. We've heard how he's rescued you, how he split a sea. We know that this is his land, his promised land. So when you come and take it, can you protect me and my family if I help you? And the 2 spies say, you have a deal. And so literally, Rahab the prostitute hides the 2 spies on her roof, covers them up. Soldiers can't find them. She sends them the wrong way. They are repelled right down the mountainside, and they run to the hills, which were the north side of the city. There was mountains and trees and forest. The thing about Jericho is that when you look at it, it's impossible to get through. And maybe the thing you picked for the month of June seems impossible to get through. These walls were 15 to 18 feet tall. At the guard tower, the watchtowers, they were between 25 and 30 feet tall with armed snipers, with arrows, ready to pick off anybody that came. The other thing about the city that I want you to understand is that the city in its circumference was 5.3 miles all the way around. And God has just told Joshua, if you want to see the victory, I want you to walk. I don't want you to run. I don't want you to sprint. I don't want you to fight. I want you to walk. I just want you to walk around this city 5.3 miles a day. Until the last day, I want you to do it 7 times. And if I'm Joshua, I'm going, I thought for sure there'd be a little bit more of a battle. I thought for sure there'd be a little bit more bloodshed. I thought for sure I would be the hero of the story. 5.3 miles in that terrain would take somewhere around 3 hours. And so they have to commit, I'm going to walk around the city 3 hours. And I wonder if they thought, if God's promised us this, shouldn't God just give it to us now? And I wonder how many of us have that same thought. God, you can, so why don't you just do it? Just fulfill it now. Just help me now. And what God wants to teach you today and in this series, and what he's teaching me is, in order to win, you have to walk. You have to be consistent. It's the consistency that brings the results. If you want to win that area that you picked, be consistent. It's June 11th. You have 19 days left this month. You can make it. You can do it. Be consistent. And you might feel like you're just walking in circles right now, that your life is meaningless. You might just feel like, man, all I do is pick up laundry. All I do is fold laundry. All I do is vacuum the house. All I do is pick up after my husband. All I do, keep walking. Man, at work, my boss gets the recognition, and it's my work, and the boss gets the praises, and it's my work, and the boss gets the promotions and the accolades, and it's my work. Where's my due? Keep walking. Keep going. Stay committed. If you're a parent with kids at home, specifically young kids, you might think that they're not watching you or listening to you. I'm just going to tell you, they watch everything you do and they listen to everything you say. This was played out so clearly for me this past week. Tuesday night, we had a baseball game in Mount Pleasant, and so it was a 5:30 game. We're leaving the house about 5 o'clock. We go down the driveway, we turn left, we go up the hill towards JP's Market. It's a nice day. I roll down my window, and I want you to understand, Harrison, my 8-year-old, sits right behind me. Every time we get in the car, boom, he's right behind Dad. And every time Dad rolls down his window, Harrison's window goes down. We're driving, and I'm listening to Andy Grammer, and Kim's beside me, Mike is back there, and I put my hand out the window, and I just start to snap, because it was a catchy song. And I looked in my side view mirror, and Harrison's little hand, he's watching the trees and the cows and the hills, he's watching everything, and he just starts to do this. And then I started to point to the song, and I looked in the mirror, and his little hand's doing this. So I looked in my rear view, I'm like, is he mocking me? He wasn't even paying attention. He was copying everything I did. I tapped my wife's knee. I said, Kim, look at this. Watch this. So she kind of just turns around. And then I did, the wind wave where you put your hand in the wind and you let it catch your hand. The wind just takes it. Harrison, everything I did, I started to do weird things that just make no sense. And he was not even paying attention, but he was doing it. And I want to tell you, parents, when you think your kids are not watching you, they are. And when you think they're not listening, they are. And the world wants them. Don't let the world have them. Keep walking. Keep praying with them. Keep praying for them. Even if they're growing and out of the house, keep praying for them. Keep praying with them. Keep encouraging. It might feel like you're just walking in circles, and because we all love instant, we give up when we don't get it. But part of the process is walking. Part of the process is consistency. On April 23rd, I actually watched this happen. You probably did too if you're a baseball fan. Drew Maggi was drafted in 2010, played 13 years in the minor leagues. He is 33 years old, traveling around with 18, 19, 20-year-olds on a bus across the country, overnight trips. Played 1,155 minor league games, 4,500 at-bats, and on April 23rd made his debut for the Pittsburgh Pirates. An interviewer asked him after the game, what was it like? This is what he said. He said, I realized tonight that anything is possible. Never give up. If you love it, go after it. I wondered what I would say to my parents if the moment ever came where I stood at the plate and I looked up and saw my dad crying. I've never seen him cry before. I now know that the last 13 years have not been wasted. I'm just going to tell you, the walking is not wasted. The consistency is never wasted. It's never wasted. I want you to picture this. Joshua gets from God, you got to walk around the city 6 times, and on the 7th day, you got to walk around it 7 times. It's going to take you, on the last day, it's going to take you about 21 hours. And day 1, he goes in and he wakes up the camp. He's like, all right, guys, let's go. And they're up and at him. Woo, let's go. March, 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 march. Back to the camp. They're like, yeah, we did it, day 1. And day 2, he comes. All right, guys, let's go. And they're like, not really what I expected, but that's okay. March, 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 walk, walk. And they get back. They're dusty. They're tired. It's hot. They're dry. They're weary. Day 3, Joshua's like, come on, guys, we got this. And they're like, I don't know, man. Nothing's happening. All right, let's go. Walk, walk, walk. 5.3 miles. They get back. Day 4 rolls around. Joshua's, the optimist. We got this. Let's go. They're like, go by yourself now, guy. These dogs are barking. I don't know if I can keep going. No, we're in this together. We're in this to win it. Let's go. Keep going. Fine. This day takes a little bit longer because they're a little bit draggier. Day 5 rolls around. I wonder if Joshua's like, I guess we should go. I thought for sure we'd see something by now. A crack in the wall. A little bit of victory. a little bit of hope. I don't see anything. Let's go, guys. Day 6 rolls around. Can you imagine you're the guard in the tower? You're like, I'm going to snipe these. These guys are dumb. All they're doing, they didn't even bring their swords out. They don't even have their shields. You guys look stupid. They're like, we know. Tell Joshua. They get back, night 6. Day 7 rolls around. Joshua's like, this is it, guys. They're like, no, it's not. We got to do it 7 times today. He's like, yeah, but we got to get going because it's going to take us all day to do this. The guards are up there laughing at them. Thanks for killing yourselves for us. Thanks for exhausting yourself for us. Thanks for winning the battle for us. You guys can just keep walking. This is great. This is pure entertainment for us. And then it says this, on the 7th day, they got up at daybreak. They marched around the city 7 times. Except on that day, they circled the city 7 times in itself. And so you got to think, 5.3 miles, 7 times, 35 plus miles. 35 miles they had to walk that day. The 7th time around, when the priest sounded the trumpet blast, Joshua commanded the army, this is it. We need to shout because the Lord has given you the city. Now think about this. If you're the Israelites, you're going, no, he hasn't. Nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is I'm tired, I'm depleted, I'm exhausted, I'm worn out, I'm thirsty. No, God has given you this. Let's keep going on the 7th day. So they get up, they walk. The city and all that's in it, Joshua says, are to be devoted to the Lord. Only Rahab, if you remember at the very beginning, she protected the 2 spies. Only Rahab and everyone who's with her in her house will be spared. Listen, keep away from the things that are devoted to their gods. Can I just tell you, keep away from the things of the world that are not devoted to God. Otherwise, you will bring about your own destruction if you take them, if you participate in them. You'll make the camp of Israel liable to destruction and bring trouble on it. All the silver, all the gold, the bronze, the iron, they're sacred to the Lord, and they must go into his treasury. And so the trumpets sounded, the army shouted, and at the sound of the trumpet, when the men gave a loud shout, the walls collapsed. Imagine being in the guard tower now. Everyone charged straight in. They took the city and they devoted the city to the Lord and they destroyed with the sword every living thing in it. Men, women, young and old, cattle, sheep, and donkeys. I want to stop there just for a second and tell you and remind you that God's ways are not your ways. And his timing is not your timing. If you want to see a victory in the area of your life that you've said you're going after, stay committed. And since today is graduation recognition, if I can just for a minute talk to the graduates, the 5 of you that are in the room. Almost like I'm your dad. I'm a friend. And I want to tell you very clearly, don't listen to them. Don't listen to the people that tell you that you can have the win without the walk. That you can have victory without character. Don't listen to the people that tell you, you're in your teens and your 20s. Live for yourself. Sleep with who you want. Sleep when you want with them. You can grow up later. Just please and serve yourself. You can figure it out later. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to the people who don't hold themselves accountable, but want to hold you accountable. Don't listen to them. The people who tell you you can have the better life without the burden of the walking. Because it's in the walking that God does the working. It's in your consistent daily striving, daily growth that God is working on you to become everything he has for you. Exactly who he wants you to be. Culture's taught us, world's taught us, have what you want and when you want it. And that's not how the Bible and God work. Your life is not built giant leap after giant leap. Your life is built layer by layer by layer, consistently. You don't miraculously have the $1,000 saved up on December 31st. You have it when you get every paycheck and you put $25 away. You don't have the spiritual growth and vibrancy at the end of the year. You learn it by growing 5 minutes in your Bible every day, 7 minutes in your Bible, time in prayer. It's layer by layer, small layer by layer. And when the Israelites learned this, after walking around this 5.3 mile track 6 times, and they were tired, the trumpet sounded, the army shouted, and the wall collapsed. And when you learn this consistency, you will see areas of victory in your life that you never thought you would see. That's for all of us. When we learn that it's in the walking that God's doing the working, we will see areas of victory that we never thought we would see. And you know why they kept walking? Because they didn't forget the why. Don't forget why you picked what you picked. If it was finance, you're like, I gotta have some money saved up. Maybe it's because when you're bored, you spend. When you're stressed, you spend. When you're lonely, you spend. When you're scrolling, you're spending. And for you, it's not necessarily $1,000 saved up. It's the discipline to not spend. Stay consistent. Don't forget the why. Don't forget the why you got married. If you're working on your marriage this month, don't forget why you got married. You didn't get married for sex. You got married for companionship and joy and fulfillment, to grow old together, to have a life together, to raise kids together, to go after dreams together. If you're divorced, don't forget why you got divorced so you don't carry that into the next one. Don't forget the why you're doing what you're doing. You claim the what, declare the why. Why are we going after this? Now, I'm going to finish up. Joshua 6. So Joshua said to the man who had spied out the land, "Go into the prostitute's house and bring her out, and all who belong to her." That's Rahab, because they protected you, because you made an oath to her that you were going to save her. So the young man who had done the spying went in and brought out Rahab, her father, her mother, her brothers, her sisters, and all who belonged to that family. They brought out her entire family and put them in a safe place outside of the camp of Israel. Then they burned the whole city and everything in it, except the silver and gold, bronze and iron. They put those into the Lord's treasury. Joshua spared her because she had hid her spies. He protected her. A couple weeks ago, Pastor Don was preaching on the second half of a series called 30-Minute Theology. I talked about what's the big deal about sin, why does it matter? He talked about, can we even believe the Bible? Is it even true? And he talked about Jericho. And I've been doing some study on it and digging into Jericho, and I found some really interesting things regarding this city. In 1907 to 1909, there was a German team of historians and architects that went into, that went into this area in the southern Jordan Valley. And they began to excavate, but they didn't do a thorough excavation. And so in the 1950s, there was a British team of historians, theologians, and archaeologists that went to the site of Jericho in the southern Jordan Valley and picked up what that team had finished at. This lady, Kathleen Kenyon, in the 1950s, brought modern equipment, modern processes and methods, and she literally re-excavated where Jericho had once stood. The Bible says in Joshua 6:24 that the Israelite army stormed the city and set it on fire. But that's the Bible. Is it even real? Well, Kathleen Kenyon and her team said this: there was evidence of massive destruction by fire. The destruction was complete. Walls destroyed, doors destroyed, floors destroyed, blackened and reddened by fire. Every room was filled with fallen bricks. The debris was heavily burnt. But what caused these strong stones of Jericho to collapse? Our findings is most likely it was an earthquake. But the nature of the earthquake was quite unusual. It struck in such a way as to allow a small portion of the city wall on the north side to remain intact and standing, protected, where everywhere else around it the walls fell. Do you know where Rahab's house was? On the north side of the city. Intact, protected, because that's the God we serve. God promised those two spies and Rahab, I will protect you. And it's not how those spies thought that Rahab would be protected. They thought in their minds, we're going to go in, we're going to storm in, and we're going to kill anybody that gets near her, and we're going to protect her. You're not the hero, God is. In your story, in my story, I'm not the hero. He is. And he will do things that don't make sense. Our job's not to figure it out. Our job is to walk. Stay faithful. Stay consistent. Don't give up. God promised Rahab protection. You know what he's promised you? He has promised you he will never leave you. He will never forsake you. He will never abandon you. He will never not see you. You are on his radar. He knows everything you're going through. You know what else he's promised? He has promised to fight with you and fight for you if you invite him in. I don't know about you, but I want that God that somehow on the backside, the north side of the city, left one little house standing while everything else was destroyed. I want that guy on my team. Actually, let me flip it. I want to be on that guy's team. Because he's the hero. Kathleen Kenyon finished up her findings with this statement. The timing of the earthquakes and the manner in which it selectively took down the city wall would suggest something other than a natural calamity. Clearly, a divine force was at work. Can I just tell you, there is a divine force, and he wants to work in and on your behalf. What did you pick this month? What are you going after? Is it relationally? Is it spiritually? Is it emotionally? Is it financially? Is it physically? Is it mentally, verbally to yourself? And I'll just say this as your pastor. If you're like, I'm not picking anything, then shame on you. Pick something and get better. We all have that ability to get better, to do better, to love better. Because Jesus has promised you a better life. John 10:10, I came to give you life and life to the full. It's not empty. It's not even half empty. It's not even 3/4 full. He wants to give you so much love and so much joy and so much peace and so much kindness and so much faithfulness and so much gentleness and so much goodness and so much self-control. It's yours for the taking when you keep walking. Stay consistent. Pick something. Set the when. Invite someone in to help you. In a couple weeks, Pastor Don's going to wrap up this series, and he's going to talk about this one specifically. And if you're the person that's been invited in to help somebody, what does that look like for you? Invite someone in. Be faithful. Be trustworthy. Push through. Stay committed. You got this. Together. Accept the dare. So that's it. We're done. It's 11:09. Well, it's not bad. Oh, we're close. I'm going to invite you to head down to the pavilion. If you need to go home and get changed and come back, we'll probably start in about the next 20 minutes or so. Let me pray for us, pray for lunch, and let's just go have fun, hang out as a church family, eat some food, play yard games, and put a pie in Sam Seacrest's face. Just kidding. Let me pray. God, thank you so much for today. I thank you for the graduates. Probably pretty much all of us in this room can remember that stage of life, that age. For some, it was a long time ago. For some, it wasn't that far ago. But a lot has changed in a few short years. So God, I just pray for your divine protection on these graduates. As they go off to the workplace, as they go off to universities and colleges, God, the world wants them. May they be faithful to you. Keep walking in the relationship with you. I pray, God, that you would help all of us as we pick something this month, these next 19 days, to stay committed, to stay true, to keep going, to not cave. I thank you, God, that you want more for us. You want more love for us and more joy. You want more self-control and patience. You want more faithfulness and goodness and kindness for us. So may we team up with you and keep walking.